I was the girl eating cold rice under a maple while the sky came down, sideways, clothes stuck to my skin, knuckles split from gravel. And in that storm, I heard the car door slam and the voice that could buy half the town say, "Tasha, what are you doing out here? You're drenched." Then another voice slid in behind him, like ice water. "She shouldn't be here at all, Mr. Armitage. She broke the cobalt vase 3 sentences." And my life tilted, because at the Armitage place that vase wasn't decor. It was a shrine. I said I didn't. I tried to stand. My heel slipped, lunchbox, burst rice and egg across the stones like a cheap firework, and Declan looked at me with that quiet, disappointed look. Rich people perfect in boardrooms. "Don't lie to me," he said, and I felt small enough to fit inside my own pocket. I told myself to swallow it and survive till morning, because when you've been told to be grateful long enough, silence starts to sound like safety, you know what I mean? What I didn't know while I sat in the rain trying not to tremble was that Mr. Baird, the gardener with sun-baked hands and a spine like a church bell, knocked on Declan's study door with a little USB in a plastic bag, backup camera footage from the East Corridor Priscilla didn't know existed. And on that grainy screen, the truth played simple and ugly. Her elbow clipped the pedestal, the vase wobbled, fell shattered into blue teeth. Then she turned on me the second I stepped into frame. Finger-sharp accusation ready, no sound. And still, you could hear it because some lies are so practiced, they come with subtitles. Declan watched it, and something in his face let go an old habit, a certainty. I don't know. But he came back out with an umbrella bandaged my hand in the kitchen. Under the soft pendant lights, voice lower now. I saw everything he said. And when he asked why I didn't fight back, I said the truest thing I knew. Because I can't afford to lose sometimes. Survival looks like silence. And he nodded like a man recognizing his mother's handwriting after a long time pretending he couldn't read. The next morning, he fired Priscilla, not in a hallway whisper, but in his office with the door wide. She tried. Puzzled, then offended, then superior. "Girls like her play fragile," she said, and he didn't bite. "Get out," he told her. "I'm done letting your poison run my house." And yeah, that happened. But you don't fix a system by kicking out one person. Roots are the smartest part of the plant. They know how to hide. He moved me to operations, which is a fancy way to say I started managing the schedules and the people who actually kept the place breathing. The old accounting room became my office with a window over the maple and a second-hand laptop that hummed like it had opinions, and for a week the house exhaled. The kitchen stopped whispering. Carla in laundry laughed again. Mr. Baird brought basil like peace. Then the Harbor Ledger hit with a headline that smelled like old money cologne and fresh condescension from mop to manager. Questions at the Armitage estate. They never said the quiet part, but you could hear it rapid rise unqualified. Inappropriate influence, and somewhere between paragraph 2 and a bad photo of me carrying groceries, the town decided it had a take. We answered with a letter taped to the staff fridge, and posted online. It said, "Transparency isn't scandal, sharing power doesn't dilute it. It multiplies it." And we kept working, because bills don't pause for other people's opinions. That's when the house started talking back. In other ways, I found a key hidden inside a rolled inventory map that opened a narrow cabinet behind a shelf in the east wing. Inside were journals tied with ribbon. Priscilla's script, not a confession, more like a map of control, fears cataloged like assets, fear. The house might soften, fear. Declan would listen too much. Fear me. The girl is steel, she watches without moving. She will outlast me if I let her. I read it twice, felt nothing, and everything closed. It kept it not to burn, to remember. The same week, Declan found an envelope tucked in his mother's things. The original directive for the Family Foundation, a staff trust for anyone who served 5 years education, grants for their kids, wellness coverage and housing, help for people who gave their backs to that stone. The filed version after she died didn't mention any of it. Someone had trimmed generosity out of the will like fat off a steak, and he took it to the board. Big room, old portraits, older opinions. He said, we reinstate the trust, retroactive and public. The chairwoman lifted her glasses and asked about legacy donors. He said, if they pull out because we treated staff like human beings, they can keep their checks. He'd walk from the name before he'd sign that kind of comfort, and the vote passed by a thread that felt like a bridge. You think that's the happy turn, but here's the twist that cut a junior accountant, brought a private ledger to the state. Off the books, payouts, shell donations, and in the middle of the mess, a line that made my mouth dry. March 12, 2018. Staff settlement. T. Reed. 42,000. NDA signed. I hadn't settled anything except with a busted vacuum. The entry was planted a time bomb designed to go off the second. A woman like me climbed past the ceiling. Someone else drew, and the Attorney General opened a case because, of course, that ledger didn't write itself. Do you want to go public and scorch it? Declan asked. And I shook my head, not because fire didn't feel right, but because I wanted something deeper than revenge. I wanted reclamation. I wanted to tell the whole story, even the parts that make you ache. That's how I found Janet. Quiet Janet from laundry, slipping out of an old office with an envelope she'd carried like guilt letters between Priscilla and the board lead, proof of grants diverted with language. You only use when you think the help can't read. Janet didn't run. She sat and put the envelope in my hands. I kept my head down because I thought that was loyalty. Turns out it was fear, she said, and then she lifted her chin. I'm tired of carrying this house's secrets like laundry bags. And we turned it over, every page, every date, every thread. The investigation moved fast, restitution. An ethics board rebuilt with people who didn't share a last name with the gate, my status listed as a protected whistleblower, which made me laugh in that bitter way you do. When the universe finally calls you. What you've been risking in the dark and... While cameras angled for quotes, we went back to work. We turned the East Wing into rooms for kids in transition, the ones treading water between foster homes, the ones who needed a door that stayed shut without locking them out. And the first boy was Nico in a dinosaur shirt, 2 sizes too big, hiding by the service door, because his caseworker snored. I told him there was a room with his name on it, and a bookshelf taller than me. He believed me half an inch. And sometimes that's exactly enough to start. The night I knew the house had changed wasn't at a podium or a press conference. It was a Tuesday in the staff kitchen, when Carla spilled green beans. Mr. Baird cussed at the oven like it owed him rent. And Declan sat at our table with his sleeves rolled and listened more than he talked. That quiet was a new sound, like a machine finally running without grinding. Not everyone clapped. Anonymous letters showed up smelling like nostalgia, and panicked donors called to ask if I planned to turn the estate into a shelter. And I said, a shelter is a place that keeps people alive if the word bothers you. Maybe it's the mirror we kept building anyway. We put up a portrait wall in the long hallway, where only Armitages had stared for a century. Black and white photos of staff with quotes underneath mine said, power isn't what you inherit, it's what you survive, and some folks hated it, because truth looks rude when you've been flattered your whole life. Then came the day we signed the papers to move the foundation home and rename the project Harbor House Small Ceremony, under the maple that saw me soaked and silent. Once cider neighbors, teachers, my kid tugging at a collar. He called Scratchy. Declan spoke and said, I taught him that real power isn't who sits at the head, It's who makes sure everyone gets a seat. Then he handed me a folder that said, Co-director. I told him I'd think because power offers are pills, and you read the label twice. Later that night, I opened Priscilla's last journal, and the final line wasn't a dagger. It was a door. I feared Tasha, because she reminded me of the part of myself I killed. To fit into this life, I didn't forgive her. On the spot, forgiveness isn't a light switch. It's a garden. You tend what you can. You fence what you must. You don't plant poison ivy and call it grace, and weeks later, her lawyer forwarded a short letter. No excuses. I thought control would keep me safe. It only made me small with a request for a reference tucked behind it. I put it in a drawer. It's still there, heavy as a choice. That's the story. Not clean, not polite, just true. And if you've ever eaten lunch outside because the room didn't feel safe, you weren't wrong, you were early. And now I'll ask what I've been asking myself. What's the right move with people like Priscilla? Do you guard the gate and say no forever? Or do you believe folks can change when the mirror finally tells the truth? Have you seen a company, a church, a family choose silence over fairness? What did it cost? Tell me in the comments. Argue with me, teach me, and drop your city so folks know where you're watching from. If you want updates on Harbor House, the wins, the mistakes, the fights we still haven't had, say the word, I'm listening.